Plus, from the Better Business Bureau, American Hartford Gold has delivered billions in precious metals. Act now. Call or text American Hartford Gold today. Tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you for up to $15,000 of free silver on qualifying offers. Here's the number, 877-444-GOLD, or you can text GOLD Gold to 65532. That's 877-444-GOLD, or text GOLD to 65532.
Hey, it's Tony Colombo inviting you to join my band along with Somebody to Love, tribute to Queen, for an awesome night of music Saturday, November 30th at Diamond Music Hall. Join us as we kick off the season of holiday cheer with my band, Tony Colombo and the North County Sound Machine, featuring Katie Fitzpatrick, a tribute to Duran Duran, and Somebody to Love, a tribute to Queen. Support live local music and join us for a great party Saturday, November 30th at Diamond Music Hall. Brought to you by Weber Chevrolet. Get your tickets now at diamondmusichall.com.
On December 19th, gather with the people who keep us safe. The David Dorn Foundation invites you to Cheers and Charity Christmas Happy Hour at Toy Drive. If you have a heart for our heroes, join us for just $20. Enjoy a festive evening of food and fun. Kids under 12 are free. Bring a toy or gift card for first responder families in need. Santa will be there for photos with the little ones and the big ones too. All the proceeds help our heroes. For details, visit dornfoundation.com.
Now, the O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know. 5 years ago this week, doctors in Wuhan, China, began treating patients with high fevers, coughs, severe fatigue. They believe the victims were suffering from the flu. But soon, the World Health Organization identified a new kind of virus, one that killed at rates 10 times higher than influenza. COVID-19 had arrived. Here is the story. Chinese researchers initially claimed the bug originated at a live food market. Today, most experts believe the pandemic emerged from the Wuhan lab itself. The Communist Party immediately moved to conceal that. Folks were forbidden from leaving their homes, entering public buildings, even shopping for groceries. Any Chinese caught outside was arrested, publicly shamed. Some violators were paraded through the streets wearing placards stating crimes against the party. More than 1 billion people were ordered to stay indoors in China, the largest quarantine in human history. The campaign to stop the virus did not work. Beginning in January 2020, the disease spread through air travel to Milan, London, Madrid, eventually New York City. The WHO backed Beijing. Shortly after the outbreak of COVID, the group released the following statement, quote, "China's actions help prevent the spread of coronavirus to other countries. We are very impressed and encouraged by the Chinese president's detailed knowledge of the outbreak. We thank them for averting a global catastrophe," unquote. Of course, that was a huge lie. 4 years later, the virus had infected at least 800 million people, 7 million dead, including 1.2 million Americans. And here's something else you might not know. To this day, deceit defines the COVID situation inside China. The Communist Party stopped reporting data in December 2022. According to Beijing, just 5,000 Chinese have died from the virus. Global experts believe that figure is closer to 5 million. Back after this. Are you feeling the impact of recent timeshare industry changes? Now more than ever, the costs of timeshare ownership far outweigh the benefits. My friends at Lone Star Transfer are the only company I trust to help you get out. Our listeners' positive feedback demonstrates why I've supported the company for years. For more than a decade, they have helped over 20,000 owners get out of the timeshare. Their exclusive options can help you get out faster and easier, more than any other option in the country. They are the only company that will give you a written guarantee and release you from your timeshare in a specific time frame. With an A+ rating at the Better Business Bureau, thousands of 5-star reviews, Customer service is their top priority. For free consultation and a guaranteed solution, please call 855-551-7066. That's 855-551-7066, or go to LoneStarTransfer.com. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
News, analysis, opinion. This is News Talk STL. K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says his country has approved a United States brokered ceasefire deal with Lebanon's Hezbollah. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken says a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hezbollah will have a lot of benefits.
It will make a big difference in saving lives and livelihoods in Lebanon and in Israel. It will make a big difference in creating the conditions that will allow people to return to their homes safely in northern Israel and in southern Lebanon. And I also believe that by de-escalating tensions in the region, it can also help us to end the conflict in Gaza.
If approved by both sides, it would end nearly 14 months of fighting. On one of the busiest travel days of the year, a Senate committee is taking aim at a barrage of fees being charged by airlines. Correspondent Bob Agnew reports.
A Homeland Security subcommittee has issued a report that claims airlines are raking in large amounts of money by charging customers a la carte for a wide range of services that used to be included in the price of a ticket. The report names the three major carriers, American, United, and Delta, as well as low-cost airlines, Frontier and Spirit. The report comes just days before some 6 million Americans are expected to catch flights to holiday destinations. Bob Agnew reporting.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has suggested Mexico could retaliate with tariffs of its own after President-elect Donald Trump threatened to impose 25% tariffs on Mexican goods if the country doesn't stop the flow of drugs and migrants across the border. Sheinbaum says she's willing to engage in talks on the issues, but says the drugs were a U.S. problem. Good day on Wall Street as the Dow was up by 123 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
If you are 65 or older, you know this. Inflation is hitting everyone hard right now, especially when it comes to healthcare. Over the last 10 years, healthcare costs have skyrocketed by, get this, 230%. If you have Medicare Parts A and B, you know there are still out-of-pocket expenses like deductibles and co-payments, and they really add up. But here's some good news. MediShare 65 Plus is designed to fill in those gaps and help protect you from rising healthcare costs. At only $99 per month up to age 75, you get peace of mind at a price you can afford. And MediShare is trusted, too. It's been around 30 years. It's not some big impersonal thing. It's a community of people helping each other, business owners, pastors, retirees. People love it. MediShare 65 Plus just makes sense. To learn more, give them a call. They're great to talk to. They'll offer to pray with you each time you call, too. Call now, 855-PSALM-32. That's 855-PSALM-32. 855-PSALM-32.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A cloudy Tuesday, but a dry one. The high temperature in the upper 40s to near 50 degrees. Rain moving in overnight with lows in the 30s. It should stay as showers, but there's a chance we could see this all end as a couple of snowflakes east and north of St. Louis. But looks dry and chilly for Thanksgiving. There is a chance for some snow by Saturday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Getting new flooring can be exciting, or it can be a hassle. To make sure you have a great experience, use Michaels Flooring, like I did. Hi, it's Susie Moore, and Michaels Flooring has become my go-to for quality, variety, and an all-around great experience. They've been locally owned and operated for more than 30 years. Carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, natural stone, luxury vinyl, it doesn't matter. Michaels Flooring is ready to help. 3 locations to pick from, St. Peter's, Darting Prairie, and Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloor.com. That's igotfloor.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
The Napoli heritage of fine dining continues with Napoli Kirkwood. Napoli Kirkwood, now open. So add that to Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C. And don't forget about Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the district, Chesterfield Valley. All of those locations, plus now, open, Napoli, Kirkwood.
Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows. Mike Ferguson in the Morning, The Vic Porcelli Show, Columbo and Company, Jones and Arps. Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. Subscribe and watch News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here? As a former leader in the House, I think you could put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Benjamin Netanyahu has just finished his televised address to the country just seconds ago after meeting with his war cabinet, who all voted for this ceasefire to go ahead. He has said that he'll be meeting with his full cabinet with a ceasefire looking to be imminent in the coming hours. If it is the ceasefire that the US has proposed and negotiated on for months, it would see a 60-day pause in fighting between Israel and Hezbollah.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show, Tuesday's edition of the short holiday week. Happy Thanksgiving to all y'all. Many of you are taking off already and you're going to the great beyond. Safe in your travels. We wish for you all. November the 26th, 2024, 4:07 in the PM. Thanks for joining Chris and I and Joey at 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Well, Chris, Donald Trump gets elected. And we already have partial peace in the Middle East starting to break out.
Most definitely. I think the election of Donald Trump inspired Hezbollah to come to the negotiating table. I also think the fact that Israel has obliterated most of Hezbollah's leadership in the last couple of months helped as well. This is a good development for Israel and the Middle East. I just hope that this ceasefire lasts. And I hope that we can get to some type of agreement with Hamas so those American and Israeli hostages can come home.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Following up on those points, you're correct. Benjamin Netanyahu basically told Joe Biden a few months ago, if you're going to stand in my way, then I'm just going to proceed to ignore you. And he basically took the gloves off. Netanyahu did. And they've been getting down and dirty business. And secondly, for the liberals in our audience that think that Trump has nothing to do with this, Netanyahu made a veiled reference to Trump in his remarks today. He gave all the reasons why he thought the ceasefire was a good idea. And at the very end, he said something along the lines of, and the slow walking of the arms shipments that we've been experiencing for the last few months, that's likely going to end in the real near future. Kind of basically telling Hezbollah, if you guys want a deal, this is the best you're going to get, because come January 20th, we're going to be fully restocked from the Trump administration, and we're just going to roll.
Exactly. And I think we may see, may take some weeks or months into this administration, but I think we'll start to see the Abraham Accords. I think we'll see more peace talks among Arab nations with Israel to try to bring some peace there. But Donald Trump's election is definitely changing geopolitical politics. will in Ukraine, and it is in the Middle East. And politics, economic politics. The president announced that he will be placing tariffs on Mexico and Canada, 25% tariffs. I'm not so sure, Tim, that he is going to do that. People should have learned by now.
Exactly.
With
I know
10
what you're gonna
years.
say. I know what you're
you
going to
know
say.
exactly where I'm going.
Go right ahead.
This is the negotiating stance. This is not hard in stone. I'm putting these tariffs on them. It gets these people negotiating. And you've seen Canada and Mexico have responded to Donald Trump's threats of tariffs. So I hope people finally figure out how Donald Trump operates.
Chris, even if people hadn't read it yet, hasn't everyone at this point heard of the famous Donald Trump book, The Art of the Deal?
Yeah.
Donald Trump is not your typical politician. He never has been. He never will be. This is his last term in public office. I think we can all say that with great certainty. And so he's going to continue to not follow the normal political playbook. And Chris, maybe people are wondering, well, why is he doing this? Well, he's doing this because we've had a wide open southern border for the last 3.5, almost 4 years. And he said why he's doing this. We have to do something to stop the bleeding of the fentanyl and the sex trafficking. So, Chris, when the faucet is going full blast, what's the first thing you do? You shut off the faucet, right? And then you have to deal with the damage of the flooding. So let's say the faucets have been open in your basement for the last 4 years, and the basement is completely flooded. Everything's destroyed. You're going to have to rebuild and replace everything. But Chris, you don't bring in the new carpet and the new drywall until you shut the faucets off.
Exactly.
Then you start repairing the damage. So I agree with you. Donald Trump was like, all right, I'm shutting the faucets off, 25% tariffs on everybody. I doubt he ever does it. But you're right. He's also caused them, Mexico and Canada, to respond and say, oh, okay. You're serious, aren't you? Yeah, he probably is. So let's help the United States of America help themselves.
And I'm also glad, too, because, the liberals are going to make a big deal about how inhumane he's being to immigrant families and separating migrant families and all that. I'm glad he threw in the component of fentanyl and he threw in the component of crime as well. Tim, you remember a few weeks back, we had the police officer that was killed by the illegal immigrant here in St. Louis while he was working a traffic stop.
Yes.
I read a story this morning. I can't remember what jurisdiction this was. It wasn't in Missouri, but the same thing happened. A Colombian national who overstayed his visa ended up hitting and killing a police officer, and his only ID that he had was his Colombian ID.
And you know what's also inhumane? What's really inhumane, in addition to those examples, is the third example we saw this week of the little 2-year-old girl, the face of the Biden-Harris border disaster, a 2-year-old girl from, I think, Venezuela, standing at the border with a little Post-it note in her hand with a telephone number on it, hoping that some good person and not some bad person comes up to her and gets her to where she's supposed to be. Could you imagine, Chris, releasing your 2-year-old daughter into the great wild unknown and hoping some nice border agent versus some coyote from a cartel picks her up? Thankfully, in this situation, a very benevolent and friendly ICE agent did find this young 2-year-old girl and hopefully got her to a safe space. But Chris, that's the kind of things that the Democrats don't seem to give a rip about. The little tiny human beings who are the true carnage in this border catastrophe.
Yeah, I mean, they're being sex trafficked. And we've heard the stories where these children have come in with adults claiming to be their parents or their guardians. They really aren't. They just want to get these children into the country so they can exploit them and sex traffic them. And, the Democrats, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, to me, have a lot of blood on their hands because of their policies. And, the migrants realize that things are going to change under Donald Trump. We talked about this last week, but there is a migrant horde that is on its way to the southern border now, trying to get into the country before Donald Trump takes over.
Another caravan. All right, what are we going to do today? What are we going to do today on a Tuesday? We're going to talk about a lot of different things with a lot of great and awesome people. Joey V is here as well, and I believe that he may have a movie to tell us about later in the program. perhaps around the 5:45 segment.
I saw Moana 2 last night. A
Yay,
lot of
Moana.
disappointed and crying children.
Oh,
leaving that theater.
no. Are you kidding? What, because you were hurting them or
No.
what? Oh,
They
okay.
were just confused. They're like, how did this get put up on that big screen? This should have been in the garbage can. Oh, these kids are rough critics.
Really?
That's a heck of a tease there, Joey. I
Wow.
can't wait till 5:45
I wonder what
to
was,
talk about that.
wonder what was wrong with Moana too. What about you? Did you like it or did you cry too?
Oh, I hated it. It was
Oh.
hot, wet garbage.
Oh, no. Joey, don't hold back.
I won't. 5:45. Look forward to it.
There we go. Maybe, well, you got a lot of movies to see. So, Joey, maybe people can skip this one, right? And wait till it comes out on streaming.
Wait till the live action remake comes out in the year and skip that one too. They are desecrating the corpse of Moana.
You have some explaining to do at 5:45.
You
'cause
do.
I have no idea what Moesha is. Never heard of it. So
You never heard of it.
Never.
Your friend Tony Colombo on the show before you wears a Moana shirt all the time. No.
Now,
Never
these
heard.
characters are South Pacific characters, right?
Yeah, 2016 the movie came out. Great score. Lin-Manuel Miranda.
It was
from
great,
Hamilton.
right? The original was
he
great.
involved. Yeah.
My daughters loved it.
I actually own it. I mean, it's one of the few movies I've bought back when it came out.
So they had 8 years to make a good sequel, and they screwed
Sounds
it up.
like they didn't.
It was supposed to be a TV show, and then they said, let's just scrape together 4 episodes and call that a movie. Throw it on the screen.
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to be a free thing on Disney Plus.
Probably never a good idea. All right. You know what? He's not free. He's extremely expensive. David Stokes, he'll be joining us. You should see the check we send him every week. I'm kidding, of course. David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute, will be joining Chris, Joey, and I at 4:24. Town and Country. We didn't get to this last week because we had a million other things to talk to David about. So
Yeah.
we held it over. Town and Country is levying a municipal property tax for the first time since 97. Why? We had all this COVID cash flooding across the land. Why is the wealthy manse of Town and Country, Chris, needing to raise taxes?
Which is more exclusive, Town and Country or Huntley?
Huntley.
Okay.
Huntley. I can say that very quickly. But Chris, Town and Country's in the top 5.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with Ledoux
Yep.
and Frontenac. So what's wrong with the
My UPS training comes into play here. That's the 63131 zip code. I have
Well
that useless
played.
knowledge in my head. I know every zip code in the metro area from my days at UPS. I don't know what that information will ever help me in my life, but I have the.
You'll never get lost.
Yeah, exactly.
in St.
I know
Louis.
every zip code.
And Chris, there is a political action committee, otherwise known as a fundraising group. A political action committee is reviving a plan to give St. Louis County voters, that would be you and I and a lot of our audience, tax money to make campaign donations. Ooh, I don't know that I like that.
When is that deal? When is that idea ever going to die? It's
Uh.
been around forever of public financing of campaigns. I think it's a horrible idea.
Mm-hmm. And you know what, Chris? A lot of Democrats would agree with you. There was let's tell you what a small world this is. There was a lady who was serving in the House when I first got there. Her name was Rachel Bringer.
Yeah.
And I found out that she was originally from New York,
Okay.
but she had settled here in Missouri and became a state rep. She was a Democrat, and she moved back to New York. And I lost complete track of her. Well, a buddy of mine who I think we've interviewed on our show before, one of my old law school classmates, he was one of my Democrat friends, good guy, he's one of your more traditional Democrats. Craig Johnson, he was a state senator in New York for one term. He now does lobbying work. He came on our show and talked to us once before.
I remember.
He reached out to me out of nowhere about 2 weeks ago and said, "Did you serve with this lady?" And it was Rachel Bringer.
Oh,
and
wow.
the story was she was rejecting New York City's taxpayer-funded campaign plan that they have because she decided to raise more money herself. And it made all the Democrats up there, Chris, light their hair on fire.
And that's the way it should be. I mean, the Supreme Court has ruled that free money is free speech. So I don't want taxpayer-funded elections. If someone is popular and people want to give them money, that should be the system. Should be transparent, of course.
Yes.
But raise as much as you can, as long as we know where it comes from.
So Rachel Bringer, Democratic, former Missouri state rep, back in New York City running for a council position, rejected the taxpayer-funded plan, taxpayer-funded financing option, and said, I'm going to raise more money myself, and basically cited the same reasons you did. It's my free speech rights. Thank you very much.
It's like Missouri values rubbed off on her.
I was thinking the same thing.
As she went back to New York.
Yeah, so there we go. We're going to talk David Stokes about, you can tell, those are very exciting, interesting topics. And David Stokes always brings the heat on Tuesday at 4:24. At 4:45, we'll have Chris's Corner.
Yeah, we got some immigration stuff we're going to talk about. I'm sorry, global warming news. A lot of global warming news. We haven't touched on that in a while. So our liberals that listen to our state rep friend, be listening at 4:45.
Yep, that's one of our favorite joint topics. I'm looking forward to that, as you all should be as well. At 5:07, so we've got 2 days until Thanksgiving, and some of you may remember that every year I do a recitation from the Wall Street Journal editorial that runs on Wednesday, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving, the Wall Street Journal, since like 1950-something, has run 2 editorials. I'm going to read the first one today, which is called The Desolate Wilderness. It's all about, it's kind of written in a little bit of Old English, but it's all, because it kind of sounds old-timey, but it's all about the Pilgrims' decision to leave the old country, come to this one, and kind of the excitement, the fear, and the terror that they found once they got here in this great wild wasteland of a land. And so then tomorrow will be, it's The Desolate Wilderness, and then the second one is called The Bountiful Land. So today will be The Desolate Wilderness, tomorrow will be The Bountiful Land. So those will be the speaker stump speeches today and tomorrow. And at 5:24, Chris, we haven't talked to him in forever. Dr. Randy Tobler joining us this afternoon at 5:24. Of course, you hear the good doc every Saturday morning, 6 to 9, and he also does Mid-Missouri Radio every morning on the Eagle, which you're going to be on tomorrow morning in case people are driving to Grandma's house tomorrow through Mid-Missouri. They can hear you do the Gary Nolan Show.
Gary Nolan Show from 9 to 12, Jeff City, Columbia, and Springfield. And my partner, Tim Jones, will be my first guest at 9:20. So make sure you're listening.
It'll be this show in Mid-Missouri. So there you have it.
You know what, Tim? You might have given me an idea for Thanksgiving next year. I may recite Malcolm X.
Oh, yeah?
For Malcolm X. You know what Malcolm X said about Thanksgiving? And I'm being funny, everyone.
Okay.
Please take this is tongue-in-cheek. Malcolm X said back in the day that black people didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us.
We can laugh about that now. Yeah. That's a good.
That was a famous Malcolm Xism.
He had a way with words.
Yeah, he did.
For whatever you think about him, he was one of those superlative communicators that could deliver a lot in a short phrase.
And he changed his values tremendously at the end of his life. He was anti-white. He hated white people. Everyone knows the famous trip he took to Mecca. He saw Muslims of all different colors coming together in love, and that changed his whole perspective when he came back to the United States. The Muslims that he were involved with didn't particularly like that, and they assassinated. Tim, before we go on break, I got to give a shout out to my Uber driver today that took me to the station. His name is ready for this? Yes. Mark Kehoe.
Oh, how funny.
But he is not related to Mike Kehoe, and he actually has a brother named Mike.
Oh, how
So
funny.
he owns a software company. He's doing some Uber driving on the side to make some money. He is a conservative, so I hope that he is listening to us right now. He said he was. I think he recognized me from Newsmax because he came in. He said, "You look familiar." And then once I kind of realized who he was, that he was cool and everything, I said, "Yeah, I know, man. All black people look alike." He's like, No, I wasn't saying." I was like, No, we're cool. I get it. So I said, I do Newsmax, News Talk STL. I said, yeah, that's where it is. I think it's Newsmax. So.
Cool. Well, hello,
Mark Kehoe. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for bringing Chris.
Thank
you for listening to us. We hope you are. And spread the word to all of your like-minded Uber customers as well.
Dude, my last 3 or 4 Uber drivers have been conservative.
That's
Remember
fantastic.
I told you I was dropped here for the airport. Dennis O'Blennis, who's listening, I hope. He's conservative. We became Facebook friends.
Gig
Uber
economy.
drivers are conservatives.
Entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
Gig economy. I know a lot of people that drive. I know some people, Chris, they like making a little extra money, but some people who have extra time on their hands, they just do it for fun.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's nothing that I've said publicly here, but when Becky was laid off from Gray Bar in 2020 and the pandemic started kicking in and not a lot of stuff was going on, Becky and I drove Uber Eats for about 6 or 7 months, put food on the table, paid our bills. I look back on that sometimes. I'm like, man, how did we ever survive that? But God provides, and thank God Uber Eats was there and actually expanded my food. ate Indian food
There
because
you go.
because it smelled so good in my car.
Yeah, not a bad way to expand your horizons, let me tell you. And to all the people out there who are driving over the next few days, with your driving, especially if you're driving for work, all the delivery folks, all the people who are transporting people, thank you for what you do.
Yes.
And please be safe and careful. A lot of people on the road over the next few days. So everybody, take a deep breath, take it easy. You'll eventually get to grandma's house. You don't need to rush. The pumpkin pie will be there aplenty. It is 4:24 in the PM. It's David Stokes time. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to step aside. We'll be right back with the one and only Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute, David Stokes, on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show here at 101.9, 94.1, streaming worldwide at newstalkstl.com.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
I've just been told I've been fired.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A cloudy Tuesday, but a dry one. The high temperature in the upper 40s to near 50 degrees. Rain moving in overnight with lows in the 30s. It should stay as showers, but there's a chance we could see this all end as a couple of snowflakes east and north of St. Louis, but looks dry and chilly for Thanksgiving. There is a chance for some snow by Saturday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
St. Louis's place to talk.
The American people have further lost faith in our governmental institutions.
People can decide what they want and how they want to live.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
I told you it was going to get colder, and here we are. We're right in the middle of it. However, we haven't had a lot of storm activity yet, so I'm going to once again urge you to call Hanson's Tree Service. Give Chad Hanson and his entire team a call today at hansonstree.com. Go to the website, hansonstree.com. On that website, the first thing you're going to see is the phone number up in the top left-hand corner. Big, bold script. It is the 24/7 number. So you don't have to go searching for numbers for Hanson's. All you got to do is remember two things. Go to hansonstree.com and look in the upper left-hand corner. You can't miss it. It's the 24/7 number. It's the emergency number. It's the daytime business number. It's all the same number, 636-379-1830. But you don't even need to remember that. You just need to remember hansonstree.com. You need to call Hanson's because perhaps you have a tree that's got some dead branches on it that you've been putting off getting addressed and trimmed. Maybe you have a tree overhanging your gutters. Maybe you have a stump in your backyard like I have that I got to get Hanson's over to take out, grind. They'll grind it into some big, beautiful mulch, the biggest, beautiful mulch ever. And then you can use that mulch for your yard, or they'll take it away for you. Speaking of mulch, if you need more mulch, they've got organic mulch available at Hanson's. They'll also offer you hassle-free estimates, 6 months, same as cash financing, and you can make payments for services already rendered. All, yes, at the website, hansonstree.com. Hanson's St. Louis provides expert insured tree care. They've been providing it for decades. They are the best in the business. They've got all the big boy and big girl toys, and they've got the expert arborist know-how to take care of, besides your home, what's likely your biggest, most expensive, most important assets. That's your trees, your shrubberies, your bushes, and whatever else. Hanson's provides a variety of services, including all the tree care I mentioned, green resource recycling, grinding and land clearing, and much more. As I said, everything you need, everything you can get, anything you might possibly need for your home or business as far as cleaning up everything in your environs is at hansonstree.com. That's hansonstree.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airwaves for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-6766. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Wellington Environmental knows that many are struggling this time of year. Wellington is an advisor to the Salvation Army Gateway Citadel, and they have a way to get more people involved. Bell ringers are really needed, and they have some great spots open in South County. Wellington will help schedule for you. So if you can give an hour, maybe 2, this Christmas season, ringing a bell is fun and uplifting. You sign up 6 or more to ring for an hour, Wellington Environmental will make a customized sign on top of the bell, and you can put your family name, your team, your company, all for free. Great opportunity to help out others this Christmas. Contact Wellington, 314-644-4930, 644-4930, or wellingtonstl.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Dropping truth bombs and making you think. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Another win for St. Louis in the fight against vacant eyesores, devaluing downtown. The Railway Exchange building rotting away in the heart of it, now taken away from its private owner and given to the city to develop, following a judge's decision Friday. This comes as St. Louis City has spent thousands of dollars partnering with a security firm to reduce crime inside the abandoned Railway Exchange building.
4:30 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, and just more troubles of St. Louis. We got David Stokes on the line. Let's talk to him.
David Stokes over at the Show Me Institute. In high school, you talk about spike. I had a very short spike. It was spiked.
I knew there's a spike somewhere in that stuff.
It wasn't very punky. It was more Leave It to Beaver-ish, maybe.
And as he does every Tuesday, David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute. Hello, Dave. How are you?
Hello, Chris. Hello, Tim. Hello, everybody.
Hello, David.
Okay, you heard that clip coming in there, Tim. The city of St. Louis, the St. Louis Development Corporation, has bought the Railway Exchange building. This begins the renaissance of downtown St. Louis, right?
Right. Absolutely. You know, it's not that I think what the city is doing here is terrible, as much as I just have no faith that something better is gonna come of it. I mean, if the building's essentially abandoned for this period of time, you know, this move can't you know, I loathe eminent domain, but I do think this can be one of the legitimate uses of it, but no confidence in the world that the city's going to do anything better with this building. But hey, it's a difficult situation, and I'd love them to prove me wrong.
Yeah. David, we could probably eminent domain with a straight face most of, especially the north side of St. Louis, which is unfortunate because that's where some of the most beautiful architecture is. And unfortunately, you've got so many abandoned buildings and abandoned lots. And what's the city's plans for this blighted, once mighty building, or do they have any yet?
I don't think they have any plans, and if somebody knows of it, I'm happy to stand corrected. But I don't believe they have any plans. I think, you know, if they can just get it to the point where it's securely locked, so it doesn't become a sort of a magnet for crime, and get it secured so pieces aren't falling out of the ground onto the street below, I guess that's progress. And to that point, and this is where you sort of have to look to Detroit, as crazy as that seems, is it got much of downtown Detroit and the city of Detroit got to this point of just absolute abandoned buildings. And eventually, though, things have slowly but surely started to turn around in Detroit. Hopefully the city, which I do not believe is to the level that Detroit hit in the 90s and the early 2000s, hopefully it can stop this and turn this around with some new leadership here shortly. I'm not particularly optimistic, but Detroit really is the example of between whatever, and I'm not saying all these are required, between something like state takeover, municipal bankruptcy, just letting it hit bottom and prices to hit bottom. Detroit does provide a bit of a roadmap for how to get out of something like this.
Speaking with David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute. We didn't get a chance to get to it last week, David, but Town and Country is levying a municipal property tax For the first time since 1997, I've looked up some statistics on Town and Country. It looks like the median individual income is $71,000. The median household in Town and Country is $231,000. Why do they need to levy income taxes here? Municipal property tax.
Well, municipal property. Well, they say they're having some shortfalls in their budget, and I don't begrudge them that. I do think that they, like a lot of suburbs like that, has a reserve that I think is unnecessarily high. They like to have reserves equal to 50% of their municipal budget in case of emergency. I guess, we've had a pandemic, so we know what an emergency is. I still think that's higher than necessary, but their point about just kicking the can down the road if they don't do something is fair enough. It's not that I am angry that they're trying to put in a property tax, provided they did it in at least some offsetting way. It's the way they're going about it, Chris and Tim, where they're just absolutely ignoring the Hancock Amendment based on, at best, a dubious legal loophole that they say they don't have to put this to a vote of the people. Even if they're right about that, and I'm not sure they are at all, I think it's just terrible governance to try to get around that rule, which is a bedrock of local government in Missouri. So for Town and Country to put this 23-cent property tax and not put it on the ballot, not to have their voters have a say, is absolutely terrible local government, in my opinion. If I lived in Town and Country or owned property in Town and Country, I'd be absolutely livid here. And it's nothing to do with, conservative, liberal, moderate, whatever. I mean, voters are supposed to have a right in these choices in municipalities and local government in Missouri. And here you have Town and Country just utterly and completely ignoring it. And I think it's just terrible.
David, do we know why Town and Country is having a shortfall? I mean, Town and Country, for folks who are not familiar with it, is one of the most, I would argue, prosperous regions in our area. They've got lots of businesses. They've got lots of residential. They kind of have a nice balance of both. They appear to have nice government services. They have a beautiful municipal complex. I assume the trash gets picked up on time and the potholes get filled. Why are they having these budgetary issues? Do we know?
Well, according to the newspaper articles, and I don't doubt this part of it, it's just that the cost of police and fire protection primarily keep rising, and their sales tax revenue is not rising as fast. I think they're a pool city, if I have that right, and that's a good thing for them. But overall, their sales tax revenues are not increasing fast enough, as fast as their public safety costs are. And again, I don't begrudge them the idea of instituting a municipal property tax. Most cities have property taxes, albeit small ones.
Sure.
Trying to sort of level the playing field, I think a lot of cities in Missouri rely too heavily on sales taxes and are sort of out of whack on that. The three-legged stool of sales and property taxes and user fees is a little lopsided here. So it's not that I think it's terrible that Town and Country wants a small property tax as part of their long-term fiscal health. It's, again, the way they're going about doing it to not allow their voters to have a say. Their voters want to impose this 23-cent property tax up from zero, and they've been at zero since 1997. And they're claiming that because they're at zero, which is below their legal cap. So they claim, even though I've seen one document from the auditor that says their ceiling is zero, and I've seen another one that says it's 40 cents per hundred. So who's right? I don't know. But they're claiming that because they've been at zero voluntarily, they can just raise their rate without a vote of the people. And A, I'm not sure that's correct legally. And B, ethically and from a good government perspective, it's absolutely a terrible thing to do. You should have the voters have their say on this. And if they reject it, that's when it's time to start cutting services. I mean, that's the choice the voters can make. Continue to keep your services are and increase taxes, or not, and have them make necessary cuts or adjustments or whatever. That's not the choice that voters shouldn't be able to make. They should be. And to see Town and Country just looking at the Hancock Amendment to our Constitution and just laughing at it, I think is absolutely terrible.
David, everyone on this conversation are residents of St. Louis County. We also are St. Louis County voters. Apparently, there's a plan by a group to give county voters tax money to make campaign donations. Tell us more, please.
Well, I mean, it's almost hard to come out of the mouth because it sounds like such a joke. Like you're reading like a Babylon Bee or an Onion article that they're going to take tax dollars and mail people checks and make people required to use those checks to make campaign donations. I mean, it's beyond preposterous. I mean, I need to consult a thesaurus to critique this properly. But that's really the plan by this group, Show Me Integrity, which is going to launch some type of, petition drive, referendum, whatever. I don't think they've settled on exactly what their plan is, but they really want to do this in St. Louis County. It's the worst idea I think I've ever heard. It's like in Tropic Thunder where they talk about the Ben Stiller movie. This is the worst movie ever made. Well, this is the worst idea I've ever heard. To again use tax dollars to mail people checks to require them to give money to politicians. So, needless to say, I hope this does not move forward, and I'm confident it will fail. I'm confident in the judgment of the people of St. Louis County to, however necessary, shoot this down. But it just goes to show that there's no bottom to the absurd ideas that people can come up with to try and impose on the rest of us.
Mm-hmm. So, David, are they going to try to put this on a St. Louis County to a referendum to St. Louis County voters? Are they going to try to put this on an upcoming ballot, or what's the plan here?
I believe so. Although the article in the Post said, they're not 100% final on their plan, like how they're going to do that. But I'm confident that, the elected officials in St. Louis County aren't going to do something like this, even though they're the ones who could, in theory, benefit. So yes, it sounds like they're going to try to do it through some type of initiative, petition, or referendum process to put it on the ballot. And again, I don't think they finalized how they're going to go about doing it. However they do it, I hope they fail, because this is, again, using tax dollars to send people money is bad enough. But to then require them to use that money to make campaign donations is beyond absurd. And I say this as somebody, like, I make campaign donations of my own free will each year to elected officials and politicians that I want to support. And I've given money to members of both parties in recent years. And I don't know if that surprises people, but I've given, again, people in both parties. But the idea that it would be legally mandated to, hey, give me money and then say, you must use this to do X is wrong. Just, it's turtles all the way down for how bad this plan is.
David, the St. Louis Economic Development Agency has gotten quite a black eye these past few weeks with the cronyism that was involved with these grants to these businesses. We learned today in the Post disgrace that the top lawyer at the St. Louis Economic Development Agency, has been reassigned to a job at the airport. The mayor's office said there is these are coincidences. They have nothing to do with each other. Your thoughts?
Well, I saw Gene Duker, who I'm a big fan of, tweeting about this today as sort of like, this is sending somebody to Siberia as far as local government goes. I'm going to touch Gene on that. I don't know if it's a promotion or a demotion or what. I have no idea. I'm able to judge the quality of work of the St. Louis Economic Development Corporation here where he was, which is terrible. I don't know if this particular gentleman was.
Let me put it this way, Dave. Could this move be construed as possibly making this St. Louis lawyer for the Economic Development Agency the fall guy?
It certainly can be construed as that. The timing alone makes that a construable option. I'm not sure that's a word, but I'll go with it. But yes, I mean, look, the Economic Development Corporation has done just a terrible job for a long time. I don't want to say just in recent years. For a long, long time, they've done terrible work. And here it's almost like they've managed to somehow finally hit bottom with this Northside grant program, with the corruption, the incompetence, the appearances of impropriety, the cronyism, and all these things that you mentioned here are just, it's like it hit bottom, and it's like you didn't think it could get that bad, but it indeed did get that bad. And whether they're trying to blame it on one person, find another scapegoat or a fall guy, they may be doing that, or maybe it's just poor timing, and this guy is really needed at the airport, and they want to move him out. I don't know. I think Jane Duker probably has a better insight into political processes than I do on that. I think, this is probably deep down, this is the best day of this guy's life.
Probably.
To get out from the St. Louis Economic Development Corporation and just the terrible job they do in using tax subsidies and the like to try to create a renaissance in St. Louis, despite the fact that, that use of incentives and tax subsidies and all that is a way we know will not succeed in accomplishing these goals. So lucky for him, I guess.
And that is David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute. He can be reached at showmeinstitute.org and on X, David C. Stokes. David, thank you so much for your time as always, and happy Thanksgiving to you and Jennifer and your family.
Happy Thanksgiving to both of you and to everybody at the station and all your families as well. It's going to be a great week. My Detroit Lions are going to get here on Thanksgiving Day.
10-1.
They're going to crush it. They're going to crush it. They're looking great. So I cannot wait for the Lions game and Thanksgiving and end it all. And just talk to you guys soon, my friend.
Wait a minute. When did you become a Detroit Lions fan? I've known you for 20 plus years. This is the first I'm hearing this. Are you a bandwagoner?
No, I'm not. I started rooting for the Lions after the Rams left. That was, 8-9 years ago at this point. I'm allowed to pick another team. And I love the state of Michigan, so I picked the Lions 5-6 years ago. So I don't claim to have gone through all the pain and agony of being a Lions fan for the last 50 years, but hardly a new bandwagon guy.
All right, Dave. Dave in defense of his team. Thank you so much, sir.
Talk to you guys. Talk to you soon.
All right. And when we come back, Chris's Corner, we'll talk about some of the environmental policies of the Biden administration are trying to implement at the end of his term. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
It sounds like such a joke, like you're reading like a Babylon Bee or an Onion article.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A cloudy Tuesday, but a dry one. The high temperature in the upper 40s to near 50 degrees. Rain moving in overnight with lows in the 30s. It should stay as showers, but there's a chance we could see this all end as a couple of snowflakes east and north of St. Louis, but looks dry and chilly for Thanksgiving. There is a chance for some snow by Saturday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
St. Louis's place to talk.
Freedom of speech is one of the anchors of our society.
News Talk STL.
From one Jones to another, I would strongly recommend that you get a hold of Everett Jones and the fine folks at Jones Air and Water. Now, why should you call them? Why should we be thinking about our air and water heading into the winter months? Well, there's a million reasons why. Jones Air and Water specializes in air and water treatment products and services to enhance easier and better living in your home and outside of it. I'll get to that in just a moment. They have all sorts of air and water treatment products and services that will help your home and or your business run more efficiently, run better, and it'll be better for you. Look, you can be the filter, like let your body be the filter to take all the gunk and the junk out of the air and the water, or you can utilize Jones Air and Water filters. Be a filter or buy a filter. I suggest you do the latter. How about some examples? Well, and here at the studio, we've got the Topper drinking system. It's a little spigot that Everett installed with some filters underneath that only have to be changed once every year, 12 to 18 months. That will save you tons on plastic bottles. It will save the landfills as well. See, we're compassionate conservatives. We care about the environment. Unlimited delicious, clean, clear water courtesy of that reverse osmosis system that saves you time, saves you money, saves you hassle, saves you trips to all the big box stores, and you can feel good about it as well. We've got that here. I've got it at our Jones home. We also at our home have the whole home dehumidifier system, which works in conjunction with a whole home humidifier system as well. Keeping that, I'll tell you what, I've got it just after having run it for about 30, 45 days now, got perfect synchronicity of around 45% relative humidity, which is perfect, right? That's your sweet spot, 40 to 50%. And you can only do that when you've got both those systems. What does that do in the winter months? Well, guess what? You're not going to shock all your loved ones every time you touch them. Your skin is not going to be all crackly and dry. You're going to sleep better at night. So look, ththey don't just make you feel good in the home. They're good for you as well. Everett can treat and provide services for any home, no matter how big or small it is, for any business, no matter how big or small it is. And going to tell you about what's outside your home. I mentioned that earlier. Swimming pools. This is the season now that we think about the next season, right? And before you know it, thankfully, we'll get through winter together. It'll be all just fine. And then you're going to be uncovering your pool and you're going to be activating the systems you need to keep that pool clean. That's the EcoSmart system. That is a system that cleans your pool without salt, without chlorine, and without any acidity. Sound too good to be true? Give Everett Jones a call and he'll prove to you that it is not. 636-899-1040. 30 years in the business, multitude of 5-star ratings from all the ratings agencies. You can find them 24/7 at joneswater.com, joneswater.com. That's joneswater.com.
Well, if it's time to sell the house, why don't you go with the Realty team that already has home buyers who are approved and could buy your house right now? That would be the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway. Two great folks, Rodney and Jen Wallner, who happen to sell 15 times more homes per year than your typical realtor. And besides the husband and wife perspective that you get, you can also do it in Missouri or Illinois. Just call 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD.
Well, Vic, you're absolutely right, of course. I mean, here's my challenge. Just give them a call. Say, hey, Mike Ferguson was talking about you guys. Call Rodney and Jen, 314-810-SOLD, because when you are making a decision on something as crucial as your home, as crucial as real estate, you want people who know what they're doing, but you want people who are ethical, easy to work with, and focus on empowering you to make the best decision. Give them a call, 314-810-SOLD.
Here's some expert advice from McGuire Moving and Storage. If you have a home or business move coming up, you need to book now. Most moving companies are booked 6 to 8 weeks out. So call McGuire now, get an on-site estimate, set a date. McGuire has 85 years of experience and just won the Spire Quality Award. I can personally testify McGuire goes above and beyond to help the clients. McGuire Moving and Storage, McGuireMoving.com.
Need promotional products or apparel for your business? Look no further than Blue Sky Promotions. This woman-owned, locally operated company in Bridgeton specializes in anything and everything promotional. From branded apparel and uniforms to custom giveaways and marketing materials, Blue Sky Promotions has you covered. Whether you're looking to stand out at a trade show, build brand awareness, or reward your employees, Blue Sky Promotions has the solutions you need. Visit BlueSkyPromotions.com or call 314-739-3531.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
Battle lines are being drawn as Trump prepares to get all of his Senate nominees ready to go for confirmation.
Larry Connors USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL.
End of the spring, and here she comes back.
4:53 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And with the Biden administration winding down, they are touting all of the great things that they have done for the planet. And we'll talk about that on Chris's Corner.
Chris's Corner is brought to you by Elite Comfort Experts. Call 636-887-0971 or EliteComfortExperts.com.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
White House announced in the milestone today, they say that $1 trillion of private sector money has been put forward for clean technology and manufacturing. They say that these investments are a result of the Biden-era legislation. But remember, we spent billions of dollars for charging stations all around the nation, supposed to have 250 of them or so, and maybe 2 or 3 have been built. So $1 trillion spent, but we sure ain't seeing much of it nowadays. You know, the Biden administration announced they will lend $6 billion to Rivian Automotive for the EV maker to build a plant in Georgia. And what do conservatives say? Here's the government picking losers and winners. And, you know, the government really doesn't have a great track record on that. Alarming new report from the Climate Action Tracker Research Group warns that the world has not bent the curve toward avoiding devastating effects of climate change. According to the New York Times, under current policies, the world would hit an increase of 2.7 degrees Celsius by 2100 over pre-industrial temperatures, way above the Paris Agreement's imperatives of limiting warming to 1.5 degrees. And I'm so glad when President Trump comes in, because he's going to make sure that we never join the Paris Climate Accords ever again. Last week was the Climate Change Summit in Azerbaijan, and it was announced that wealthy nations are going to pay $250 billion over the next decade for climate financing in the developing world. And if you heard the reports, these developing countries weren't happy with that amount. They called it paltry, and they called it insulting. So, boy, I've heard of that old saying, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Seems like they need to take that advice there. You know, top auto manufacturers are strategizing on how to get Donald Trump not to scrap President Biden's green energy programs. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, Tim. The reason for that is they've already invested billions in transactions to electric vehicles. And they fear that if these mandates come in too abruptly, they would undercut automakers who sell cheap gas-powered cars. Automakers are rolling out 3 new family-friendly electric SUVs. Many of today's EVs are sedans or crossovers, but American car buyers love big SUVs and trucks. Cadillac, Honda, and Kia are all introducing new models with 3 rows of seats designed mainly for families. Sounds pretty expensive, doesn't it? It does. The Cadillac Vistique starts at $77,395. And we also, what's not going to help to bring down these prices is President Trump has signaled that he will try to get rid of the federal EV tax credit, which gives you about $8,000 to purchase one of these vehicles. Yes, electric vehicles don't work, especially in the wintertime. We saw that last year when people were in traffic accidents and they were running out of heat and running out of all types of things because these electric vehicles don't work as well in colder weather. And that is our climate update, Chris's Corner for today.
They doubled down on stupid with all the subsidies, and now they're like making it worse.
Yeah.
By kind of retooling and force. So they made it, but so now the factories can't make the things they want, and so now they're in a worse jam than before. This is what happens with centralized government.
Centralized government and government picking winners and losers never works. Speaker's stump speech at 5:07.
The Desolate Wilderness.
The Desolate Wilderness. That's a good tease. And at 5:24, we'll speak with Dr. Randy Tobler, host of the Randy Tobler Show, here on News Talk STL on Saturday mornings from 6 to 9. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL, number 1 for live and local conservative talk.
For over half a century, Joe Bacardi's has been serving up a little taste of Italy right here in St. Louis. Family owned since 1971, we're more than just a restaurant. We're a local landmark. With 4 convenient locations, we offer something for everyone, from our famous pizzas to mouth-watering entrees and delicious salads. Dine in with a glass of wine or grab a quick carryout. Whether it's dinner for 2 or catering for a crowd, Joe Bacardi's has you covered. Visit joebacardis.com and join our loyalty program. Joe Bacardi's, where every meal ends with buon appetito.
Winter's coming, and your family's comfort can't wait. Johnson Heating and Cooling, where family protects family. Owners Tracy and Sean Johnson don't just install equipment, they safeguard your home. From new construction to existing homes, we're your trusted experts in furnaces, air conditioners, and heat pumps. Don't risk dangerous gas leaks or unexpected breakdowns. Get your heating system professionally checked now. Call 636-332-4141 or visit johnson-heatingandcooling.com.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote quality Christ-centered K-12 education nationwide.
Hi, this is Chris Stegall with the Herzog Foundation. We offer a wide variety of resources relevant to today's families, including a free online publication called The Lion. The lion is one of God's most majestic creatures, symbolizing strength and courage. Named for its attributes, the Lion publication carries articles covering a wide range of topics facing American families and culture, especially related to the education of children. The Lion can be found online at readlion.com. That's READ lion.com.
Sign up for The Lion at readlion.com and find dozens of must-read articles published every day. Visit readlion.com and subscribe for the weekly and daily digests so you never miss an article. Readlion.com. That's readlion.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. The TSA says Thanksgiving travelers are okay to bring turkey, stuffing, and more through checkpoints.
If you're flying for the holiday and expected to bring part of the Thanksgiving meal, here's what the TSA says you can bring through a checkpoint. Turkey, yes. Macaroni and cheese, yes. Gravy and cranberry sauce, yes. But like all liquids, 3.4 ounce quantities or less. TSA spokesperson Lori Dankers weighs in.
I would say, especially when it comes to gravy, I wouldn't want that in my carry-on luggage, and I definitely wouldn't want it in my checked baggage. That's a good candidate for make it your destination.
Dankers says pies can go through the TSA checkpoint, but require extra scrutiny. I'm Julie Walker.
President Biden called Israel and Hezbollah's ceasefire agreement good news and expressed hope that the pause in more than 13 months of fighting will be a catalyst to also end the war in Gaza. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken says an Israel-Hezbollah ceasefire would be a blow to Hamas, which has been banking on Israel having to fight on multiple fronts.
As long as it's thought that that was possible, that's one of the reasons it's held back from doing what's necessary to end the conflict. Now, if it sees that the cavalry is not on the way, that may incentivize it to do what it needs to do to end this conflict.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said earlier his security cabinet had approved the ceasefire deal, clearing the way for the truce to take effect. Also on Tuesday, Israeli warplanes struck across Lebanon, killing at least 24 people. On Wall Street, another good day as the Dow was up by 123 points. The Nasdaq rose 119. More at townhall.com.
If you are 65 or older, you know this. Inflation is hitting everyone hard right now, especially when it comes to healthcare. Over the last 10 years, healthcare costs have skyrocketed by, get this, 230%. If you have Medicare Parts A and B, you know there are still out-of-pocket expenses like deductibles and co-payments, and they really add up. But here's some good news. MediShare 65 Plus is designed to fill in those gaps and help protect you from rising healthcare costs. At only $99 per month up to age 75, you get peace of mind at a price you can afford. And MediShare is trusted, too. It's been around 30 years. It's not some big impersonal thing. It's a community of people helping each other, business owners, pastors, retirees. People love it. MediShare 65 Plus just makes sense. To learn more, give them a call. They're great to talk to. They'll offer to pray with you each time you call, too. Call now, 855-PSALM-32. That's 855-PSALM-32. 855-PSALM-32. Bible.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A cloudy Tuesday, but a dry one. The high temperature in the upper 40s to near 50 degrees. Rain moving in overnight with lows in the 30s. It should stay as showers, but there's a chance we could see this all end as a couple of snowflakes east and north of St. Louis. But looks dry and chilly for Thanksgiving. There is a chance for some snow by Saturday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Attention St. Charles, looking for a local spot that satisfies all your cravings? Mario's Donut Restaurant is your place to go for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. From mouth-watering sandwiches and omelets to delicious gyros, Mexican dishes, salads, and wraps, we've got it all. And don't forget our famous donuts. They're so good, they'll make your eyes glaze over. Dine in or carry out, our friendly staff is ready to serve you with love and care. Mention News Talk STL when you visit. Call 636-447-4515 or visit mariosdonutrestaurant.com.
Looking for a hardware store that treats you like family? Welcome to True Value Schneider's Hardware, your local gem in Old Town St. Peters. For over 100 years, we're proudly serve you St. Charles County, providing everything from lawn and garden supplies to plumbing and electrical. Need a bolt or fastener? We've got you covered. And don't forget, we're a steel dealership. Whether you need sales, parts, or service, ask for Charlie or Jerry when you come in. We're here to help. Call 636-278-4461 or visit us online at truevalue.com/Schneiders.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
Download the News Talk STL app.
News Talk STL.
Streaming live on the mobile app. It is awesome. And listen anytime.
Love the News Talk STL app.
Anywhere. This hour of Jones and Arps brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here? As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Does it say that for certain people, or at least one person, the law may not apply?
For one person. It is frustrating as a prosecutor because you believe in the rule of law, but the Supreme Court put its thumb on the scale, said that the president gets broad immunity. You can't even use official act evidence to prove unofficial crimes. So it does seem like someone is above the law. And even if he does commit crimes in the next 4 years, do you think that prosecutors are going to prosecute him when he's 82 years old, when he leaves office? I don't think so, especially because he's so good at delays that the prosecutors may just say, hey, he's done, let it go.
Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 5:07 in the PM, November the 26th, 2024, 1019, 94.1 News Talk STL. So let me get this straight, Chris. It's Donald Trump's fault that they weren't able to prosecute him by throwing everything in the kitchen sink at him.
Of course it is. And I think this is a great example of Trump derangement syndrome.
Oh, my gosh, let it
and
go.
It's like, how are these people going to handle this for the next 4 years?
I know. They're just beside themselves. Maybe Elon Musk will just buy that stupid network and turn it into a cooking show or something.
I saw that. And I'm wondering, does he have enough money? I know he's got plenty of money. And does he have enough money to buy MSNBC? And I'm almost like, a lot of people are saying Twitter was a bad investment. You blew away a lot of money. Don't blow a lot of money on MSNBC too. But I'm glad he bought Twitter because he brought back democracy and the Second Amendment or First Amendment to a lot of us.
He brought back the public square.
Yeah.
So Twitter cost him a cool $44 billion.
Yeah.
Most people feel MSNBC is worth a lot less.
Oh, yeah.
And it probably is.
Yeah.
I don't think he needs to buy it unless he's going to make it Newsmax 2 or something, you know.
I'd like to see it just to see the liberals' heads
It is fun.
explode
Yeah.
and kind of turn it into what Twitter has done to the social media. Let MSNBC be a true town square again.
Let's see if they can survive. We're going to find out. Hey, you know what's surviving in full and fine fashion? Our giveaway this month. We are giving away a $500 gift certificate to Newsteaders Fine Jewelers. Thank you, Newsteaders Fine Jewelers, for advertising on our station and for joining with us in this awesome promotion. One of you will win a $500 gift certificate. You can go to newstalkstl.com to register. That's all you need to do. Go to newstalkstl.com to register between now and December the 9th. That is not many more days away. If you've been delaying, go register. You can register, I believe, as many times as you want. Joey will just keep stacking your name up in the cards. Right, Joey?
Well, we just don't have enough yet. I think we're in like a few hundred entrants so far. So those odds are really good. Just enter, and I bet you'll win.
Yeah, please do. Please enter at newstalkstl.com for a $500 gift certificate to Newsteaders Fine Jewelers. Chris, we had a lot of folks on the in the chat box this afternoon. Good. People are at home chit-chatting away, and I wanted to read one of them that caught my attention because it is from our super fan Scotty.
Scotty,
what did Scotty say here? We have a lot of comments here. Let's see. Scotty says, please be safe. I'm on duty on Wednesday and Thursday. He, of course, is in the first responder world.
Mm-hmm.
I would love a quiet day in the office. Also, do not fry your turkey indoors. That's my PSA for the Thanksgiving holiday. Thank you, Scotty.
You hear that every year. And Tim, do you know what happens? Does it blow up?
It can blow up. Yes. So you can fry a turkey. Just do it outside. Yeah. Don't do it even in the garage. Mm-hmm. Do it outside on like your back patio. One of my buddies had a turkey fryer, and many, many, many decades ago, we fried a turkey in South St. Louis on his back patio outside. It was fine. And then Chris, of course, what guys are going to do, we started frying everything. Anything we get our hands on.
Right.
And we fried a Twinkie.
I heard of that.
It's delicious.
I'm just wondering, I want to know the science here behind why does a turkey explode? Why is it dangerous to cook it inside? Somebody call in and tell me the science behind it.
Does Joey know?
Do you know, Joey?
I think what happens is you have a turkey that's not defrosted, so it's got all that water inside, all that ice.
Okay.
And then when you put it in such hot temperatures as the oil, it just boom.
Sounds logical to me.
Yep, there you have it. So there you go.
Joey, you know everything.
Tomorrow, we're going to have turkey tips with producer Joey V. Yes.
Oh, I love the white tips and the black tips.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're both great.
Tips, Joey,
right?
I tell you what.
Tips.
At 5:45, producer Joey V is going to tell us why you apparently should not go see Moana 2. He gave us a decent review on Gladiator 2, and it seems like most of the critics agree. Wicked is getting reviewed off the charts.
Yeah.
It's doing very well. But Moana 2, apparently not so hot.
And like I said, I know nothing about it. I don't know plot. Nothing.
5:45, you're going to find out all about it.
I think there's some surfers in it or something. Who knows? Yeah, don't worry about it.
Surfers. It's the Pacific Islanders. 5:24, Dr. Randy Tobler will be here. I'm going to be cutting out right after this segment. I have to, I got to run back out to my hometown of Eureka. Chris, many months ago, a bunch of my friends convinced me after, I don't know why I'd never did this, to join our local Elks Lodge.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I joined. There's that. And we have a beautiful Elks Lodge, by the way. And a lot of our good friends, like,
is Gwinner part of that one?
No, he's in the fancy Elks Lodge.
Okay.
In like Ladue.
Got it.
This is the Eureka Elks Lodge. But it's very nice. It's very nice. Very lovely. They do a ton of philanthropic work. The Elks actually do worldwide. The Elks do a lot of philanthropic work. I've been a Lion forever. It's another fraternal organization, service organization. And most of my friends are both, and I just never joined. Well, I was at the Elks Lodge in Eureka back in the spring for some event, and everybody was going over to the bar area to have a drink afterwards. So we went over there, and a bunch of guys were like, "Aren't you an elk?" I go, "Nope." They go, "Well, give me the thing. You are now." And so I signed up, but you have to go to a meeting, which I never have time for, and you have to go through the final rites of passage. And I don't know if they bring
some super secret thing.
Hopefully, it doesn't involve a goat.
Okay.
You know. So. But no, they it's very nice. And the Elks, Chris, I love that. They are heavy duty in supporting the military.
Oh, big time.
And our good buddy, Rick Hinkson with Eureka Contracting and Roofing,
Right.
he is a member of the Elks Lodge, so he'll be very happy to know I'm there. And so you have to go and do like the final little, I pledge to be a good elk.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had a special meeting this week, and I'm like, it's the holiday week. I'm going to knock that out. So
There
I'm
you
getting
go.
that done tonight. So I'm
Don't
going to
drink too much beer tonight.
I'm going to try not, because it is very reasonable. So I'll be heading out, but you go nowhere, because Chris is going to talk to. We have not talked to Dr. Randy Tobler since before the election, so we have.
That's true. It has been a while.
He's been busy. We've been busy. We've had other guests. Blah blah blah. So Dr. Randy Tobler and Chris and Joey will have a fantastic, rousing conversation about all the things that have happened since the election. We thought it was going to be slow. It's been anything but. Dr. Randy Tobler at 5:24, and then Moana 2 and more at 5:45, including Chris preparing you all for Larry Connors USA.
That's right.
Larry Connors follows us every night, 6:05, followed by Jamie Allman of the Allman Report. Chris, there's been a ton of big headlines today. We had the news coming out of Israel. We have had the news about we've had some more news coming out of Washington, D.C. about cabinet picks. We've had, this was a positive thing, Chris. The Biden White House and the Trump administration got together peaceably to make sure we have a peaceful transfer of power, and they signed a memorandum of understanding today as to the peaceful transfer of power. That's nice.
That is nice. And Joe Biden said he will attend the inauguration.
I hope he can find it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, my goodness. Folks, I can't believe it. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving Eve, and we then head into the holiday season. Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing.
Are you and
The
Becky?
year's almost
Are you
over.
and Becky here?
We are here. Her dad flew into town yesterday, so we do Thanksgiving here, and we do Christmas in New York.
My wonderful wife has been hosting Thanksgiving. I forgot how long. She said the other day, she goes, you realize we've been hosting Thanksgiving at our house since I was pregnant with Katie, which was 19 years ago. I can't remember 19 Thanksgivings. I can't believe it's been that long. Time flies when you're having fun.
Does.
We've got 13 people coming over to the house. Very blessed to have family in town. My brother's visiting from Kentucky. We'll have everybody there except Suzanne's parents. They're actually in Ohio visiting her sister. So there you have it. But we'll have a full house nonetheless. All right. Speaking of Thanksgiving, every year, I believe since the 1950s, the Wall Street Journal, which Chris and I are big fans of, publishes the same two editorials on their editorial page on the day before Thanksgiving. So tomorrow, if you pick up the Wall Street Journal or go to WSJonline.com, you will see these two editorials. And it is about basically the American experience of finding the new world and then what we found here. And so the first editorial, which I think is really interesting because I kind of had an experience with this phrase this year. The first editorial is called The Desolate Wilderness. Basically, the first Americans fleeing the old country, coming here and finding what they found. Then the second one is called The Bountiful Land. Well, I was just out in the Sierra Nevadas out in Tahoe, and there was an area like just to our west, Eastern California, called the Desolate Wilderness, which I thought was interesting. So this is sort of reminiscent of what they found when they first got here. That is the title of today's Speaker's Stump Speech.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
So it's called The Desolate Wilderness. It's published in the Wall Street Journal every single year. And it is a chronicle of the Pilgrims' arrival at Plymouth as recorded by Nathaniel Morton. Here beginneth the chronicle of those memorable circumstances of the year 1620 as recorded by Nathaniel Morton, keeper of the records of Plymouth Colony, based on the account of William Bradford, sometime governor thereof. So they left that goodly and pleasant city of Leyden, which had been their resting place for above 11 years. But they knew that they were pilgrims and strangers here below, and looked not much on these things, but lifted up their eyes to heaven, their dearest country, where God hath prepared for them a city, and therein quieted their spirits. When they came to Delfshaven, they found the ship and all things ready, and such of their friends as could not come with them followed after them, and sundry came from Amsterdam to see them shipped, and to take their leaves of them. One night was spent with little sleep with the most, but with friendly entertainment and Christian discourse and other real expressions of true Christian love. The next day, they went on board, and their friends with them. Where truly doleful was the sight of that sad and mournful parting. To hear what sighs and sobs and prayers did sound amongst them, what tears did gush from every eye, and pithy speeches pierced each other's heart, that sundry of the Dutch strangers that stood on the quay as spectators could not refrain from tears. But the tide, which stays for no man, calling them away that were thus loath to depart, their reverend pastor, falling down on his knees, and they all with him, with watery cheeks, commended them with the most fervent prayers unto the Lord and his blessing. And then, with mutual embraces and many tears, they took their leaves one of another, which proved to be the last leave to many of them. Being now past the vast ocean and a sea of troubles before them and expectations, they had now no friends to welcome them, no inns to entertain or refresh them, no houses, much less towns, to repair unto for succor. And for the season, it was winter. And they that know the winters of the country know them to be sharp and violent, subject to cruel and fierce storms, dangerous to travel to known places, much more to search unknown coasts. Besides, what could they see but a hideous and desolate wilderness, full of wild beasts and wild men, and what multitudes of them there were, they then knew not. For which way soever they turned their eyes, save upward to heaven, they could have but little solace or content in respect of any outward object. For summer being ended, all things stand in appearance with a weather-beaten face, and the whole country, full of woods and thickets, represented a wild and savage hue. If they looked behind them, there was a mighty ocean which they had passed, and was now as a main bar or gulf to separate them from all the civil parts of the world. Published every Thanksgiving since 1961 at the Wall Street Journal. Tomorrow, and the bountiful land. And that's the Speaker's stump speech for today. Really gives you kind of that feeling of, now we take this all for granted, right? How wonderful and bountiful this country is. But when they came in the winter of 1620, it was a pretty wild place. And a lot of them probably were wondering, why in the world did we do this in the first place?
And I think about it too, after, taking the cruise last year, big, giant, modern cruise ship. I'm kind of scared being out on the ocean on that. I can't imagine just being out from, England to North America on a wooden boat for 3 months, hoping that it survives, hoping you don't get some type of disease or anything. And to make that trek and come over here to start a new life is just amazing to me. I always wonder, I've lived in St. Louis my entire life, except for a couple of years. And I always admire people that have left their hometowns and have settled other places. And I always wonder, would I do that? Could I do that? I haven't had the opportunity, but I especially admire people that have left their own countries and have gone to another country and have resettled.
I think of people like our good friend Vivek Malik, who came here. He tells the story with about $20 in his pocket and a little leather and a little duffel bag.
Yeah.
And now he's the treasurer of the state of Missouri. Yeah. To have that kind of blind faith and resolve and courage is truly amazing. But that's what's made America.
And I think the Pilgrims would say, yes, it was blind faith and it was courage. But we have to remember one of the main reasons they came over here was for religious liberty. And they were very, very strong Christians, very religious, and they had a supreme faith in God that somehow they would make it. And they did. And look at the great nation we have today.
Those references are very clear in that editorial that we just read, because there are countless references to, despite how horrible and terrible and challenging this all seemed, there was always God by our side.
Yeah.
Well, that's the Speaker's stump speech for today. Tomorrow we'll do part 2 as we take you into the Thanksgiving weekend. Chris and Joey are going to continue this fantastic program this afternoon. Guess what we got coming up? Dr. Randy Tobler. He's the host of the Dr. Randy Tobler Show every Saturday morning here at News Talk STL. And he's weekdays, 93.9 The Eagle. He does the morning show there. If you're heading across mid-Missouri, you can tune him in anytime. And then at 5:45, Joey and Moana 2, along with Larry Connors USA, the preparation thereof. The Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show rolls on a fantastic Tuesday afternoon here in the Heartland. November 26, 2024, 5:23 in the PM. Keep it right here, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
You must not see anybody or talk to anybody. Anything you do could have serious repercussions on future events. Do you understand?
Check it and see. I got a fever of 103.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A cloudy Tuesday, but a dry one. The high temperature in the upper 40s to near 50 degrees. Rain moving in overnight with lows in the 30s. It should stay as showers, but there's a chance we could see this all end as a couple of snowflakes east and north of St. Louis. But looks dry and chilly for Thanksgiving. There is a chance for some snow by Saturday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Join the conversation. All you have to do is say,
Hey Alexa, play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
You know, we stress a lot here at News Talk STL that we are number one for live and local. We stress local because local is important because the people that you need to talk to are here. That's why I have all of my money, personal and business, at Royal Banks of Missouri. A full-service, locally owned and operated independent community bank that has the highest financial ratings in St. Louis for stability and strength. Royal Banks offers 17 convenient banking locations throughout St. Louis, St. Charles, across the river, in Granite City, in Jerseyville, Illinois, and even in Northeast Missouri in Hannibal and Rawls County. Royal Banks also have over 200 ATMs across the Midwest to give you free access to ATM transactions and withdrawals. And Royals offers convenient interactive teller machines, or their ITMs, that will connect you with a banker virtually and in real time. As a customer of Royal Banks of Missouri, you'll find their personal service is second to none. Are you planning a major home remodel or vacation in the near future? Royal Bank's home equity line of credit offers you the flexibility to tap into your home's value so you can make your dreams a reality. Contact their team today at Royal Banks at royalbanksofmo.com. royalbanksofmo.com. Royal Banks of Missouri, the community bank for your community.
Tony Colombo here for the cleaning pros at Zero Res, the team we trust with keeping our home clean and healthy. And the folks at Zero Res know how important it is to you to have a clean, healthy home this holiday season. And that's why they have this great offer for you right now. Book a cleaning with Zero Res in November and mention the Colombo special, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129. Plus, you can take $75 off an air duct cleaning. Again, just mention the Colombo special when you call 314-474-2020 or when you book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
With the average funeral bill over $9,000, are your loved ones prepared? Speak with Benjamin Schaefer at Senior Memorial. Contact Benjamin at memorialplans.com. Memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial, everlasting protection.
Need reliable auto service from people you can trust? Look no further than Western Tire and Auto. For over 15 years, we've been your complete automotive repair center, family-owned and operated, with owner Dean Cleathermes bringing 30 years of industry experience. At Western Tire and Auto, you're not just a customer, you're family. We promise 100% satisfaction, treating you with the transparency, respect, and honesty you deserve. Visit us in St. Peters or in Florissant. For appointments, call or check westerntireauto.com. Western Tire and Auto, your local automotive experts since 2008.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
One thing I said that I would never do. A look from you and I would fall from grace. And that would wipe the smile right from my face.
President Biden out with a new proposal that could make popular weight loss drugs
covered by Medicare or Medicaid. The move immediately setting the stage for a showdown between the powerful pharmaceutical industry and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., President-elect Trump's pick to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. While the rule would give millions of Americans access to weekly injectables used to help people shed pounds, it would cost U.S. taxpayers a whopping $35 billion over the next decade.
528 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And let's see what Dr. Randy Tobler thinks about this proposal.
Gentlemen, we're about to enter the fascinating sphere of police work, the world of forensic medicine. Truly, you have a dizzying intellect.
Randy Tobler, truth warrior, woke destroyer.
All right, Dr. Tobler, you heard that clip. Biden wants to make weight loss drugs like Ozempic covered by Medicare and Medicaid. I'm going to play the liberal devil's advocate here. Yes, it will cost a lot of money, but it will save money in the long run if people lose weight and have less medical problems. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there's a good medical argument just in terms of the ravages of obesity in terms of not only long-term, increased risk of certain cancers, osteoarthritis of the, back, hips, knees, feet, and, ankles and so forth. So there are a lot of payoffs, and heart disease, of course, is a big one as well. That said, I'm really leery of having this be thought of as some kind of a miracle crutch that everyone can use and continue to eat the ultra processed foods that are highly caloric and not much nutrition in return for that investment. So it could be, we don't yet know the long-term effects for these things. There are some serious side effects, including pancreatitis, which occurs in low numbers, but can be a fatal process. I mean, pancreatitis can be really serious.
Mm-hmm.
Usually people recover, but it can be bad. It increases the risk of gallstones and gallbladder disease. And there are people that will lose muscle mass if they're not diligent about trying to maintain that through exercise. If you think about it, part of the reason we're in this problem we are with our metabolic syndrome epidemic in this country is because we eat too much and exercise too little. So I'm just concerned it might become a crutch for folks that really will not really improve their long-term sustainable health habits at all. We have to maybe use it as a jump start. I could see that. There's some data that suggests that folks that do that and adapt a healthy lifestyle, might benefit if they can maintain that over the long run. They seem to be able, in some cases, to do that more than standard yo-yo diets, at least from what we know so far. But without an educational push and an individual and collective commitment to clean up our nutritional act and our activity act, I'm a little concerned about it.
Speaking of ultra processed foods, says here 73% of Americans' food supply is made up of ultra processed foods. These foods comprise 60% of the typical adult's diet. They're also saying here, Dr. Tobler, that this ultra processed food is leading not only to diabetes and heart disease, but possibly depression and dementia. What do you know about that?
Yeah. Well, look, I think that the dementia, in many cases, not all forms of dementia, but I would say the most predominant forms of dementia probably have a lot to do with inflammation of the brains and the brain and the neurons in it. And inflammation, I mean, it's being called, Alzheimer's and other forms are being called type 3 diabetes. Diabetes is an inflammatory disease as a result of the obesity that's usually associated with it. I'm not talking about type 1 diabetes, juvenile onset diabetes, but the kind that we're talking about that is related to our lifestyle problems. So look, we also know that most of the serotonin, that's the feel-good hormone in the brain, that things like Prozac and Lexapro and Celexa and many of those serotonin uptake reinhibitor agents, the most popular antidepressants, the ones that they treat. Serotonin, the feel-good hormone in the brain, is produced largely as a result of the interaction in our gut with our bacteria and our gut intestinal endocrine system. So there's like a highway, a two-way highway that goes up and down that contains signals, both neurologic and hormonal signals, from the brain to the gut and from the gut back to the brain. So there's no doubt that as we this ultra processed food, not only does it result in diabetes and obesity and the offset of that, but also it messes up our gut bacteria, and that messes up a lot of things, including making those problems worse, primarily making those problems worse, and affecting the way we think and potentially how we feel as well.
Speaking with Dr. Randy Tobler, host of the Randy Tobler Show here on News Talk STL, Saturday mornings from 6 to 9, and he's co-host of the Wake Up in Missouri weekdays on 93.9 The Eagle. Dr. Tobler, according to Axios, patients are flooding doctors' offices and pharmacies seeking IUD replacements, backup contraception, and abortion pills before Republicans take control of both ends of Pennsylvania Avenue. Do you see that happening in your practice?
Well, no, I really haven't, because of course folks know my politics, and any liberals have probably canceled me. I don't know, they probably don't see me, and that's okay. I mean, I want people to be comfortable with their doctor. That's very important. Although I don't discriminate on the people's choice or their politics or anything, but I can understand that. And I guess my politics are pretty well known.
Mm-hmm.
That said, it's a hysterical response to the election. I think we all know that if anything, Donald Trump is probably among the most liberal of conservative presidents we've had in years, probably ever. And, many of his policies look at some of the choices for his cabinet positions and their previous and sometimes semi-current positions take. I think it's hysteria. I think it's absolutely part of the Trump derangement viral syndrome. And it's a shame because women shouldn't be afraid of that. They should make conscious, along with their partners, couples need to make conscious, well thought out and well-counseled decisions with their docs. And it'd be a good idea for couples that are concerned about threats because of a current state rule or whatever to talk about contraception and contraceptive failures and the risks and failure rates and complication rates of and hazards of various contraceptives, because they all do involve a risk-benefit analysis, So I just think it's a shame that IUD is a very good contraceptive. Right? They work very well, and probably underutilized in this country overall. If you look at the risk-benefit ratio, and they are the most effective reversible contraceptive, no doubt about it, and far outweighs birth control pills, patches, or the shot even.
Mm-hmm.
So that said, many women have some, I think, misconceptions about the IUD, and a good conversation with their doc is really, really crucial, because I think some of those mysterious uncertainties could be removed.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Tobler, a new Pew survey shows that 60% of Americans don't plan on getting the most current COVID vaccine. It breaks down among political lines. 60% of Democrats say they'll get it. About 30% of Republican seniors have gotten it or will likely get the vaccine. Your thoughts, should Americans still be getting COVID shots and boosters?
I think it's an individual decision. Again, I think it is still of some value in where probably the risk benefit ratio is in favor of it for certain folks, perhaps elderly, obese people with other problems and coexisting morbidities. I, for one, the message I've been giving to my patients is, look, if you're hesitant about the COVID mRNA vaccine, I get it. I understand that. And as I said, most of my patients are. I personally will say, even though it's not a CDC recommendation, it's not an FDA recommendation, I personally don't plan on getting it. In other words, not getting it is not a recommendation. It's recommended that people get it. That said, I personally am choosing not to get it, but I have already gotten an influenza vaccine. And if you're not going to get an influenza vaccine, you ought to think about the COVID vaccine, because get one or the other. Because if you happen to get both of those diseases at the same time, and I think there's a reasonable chance that there could be a confluent epidemic or a local or regional epidemic of both of those at any time during the season here, from now through March, April, May. It could really be devastating and potentially fatal for people, particularly the more problems you have, the more diagnoses you have that are part of that metabolic syndrome, obesity, diabetes, hypertension, and or if you're elderly, if you're older. So it's not anything to be really dismissed out of hand. It is appropriate for some people, but by all means, get the influenza vaccine if you do nothing else. That's the big message. And and excepting for Thanksgiving and the day after and Christmas, Chris, we all need to clean up our act and take better care of our immune systems so that we can fight off the virus if we do get it.
Dr. Tobler, with RFK Jr. slated to become the next HHS secretary, vaccines, of course, are big in the news. Report here that says the share of kindergartners with vaccine exemptions more than doubled in the past decade, from 1.6 to 3.3%. The number of kindergartners attending school without documentation of completing measles, mumps, and rubella was about 280,000 during the 2023-24 school year. Your thoughts?
Yeah, look, the overarching theme that I'm seeing a lot of, and I'm really concerned, is that because of the widespread resistance to even standard vaccines, and again, I think the medical community has a lot of the blame on its shoulders, the way the vaccines are rolled out and the way they're clustered together and administered. I understand why that's been done. That's a side discussion, because folks often won't come back very often for vaccine, spread apart so you don't cluster them. But that said, and for other reasons, for the political reasons and for the non-scientific reasons that we've seen RFK cite before. For instance, MMR causes the MMR vaccine causes autism. That was a mistake. It's not true. It's scientifically unsound. But that said, as we've seen decreasing rates of vaccination for standard things like pertussis is one of them, I can tell you we just covered a story that in Franklin County here in Missouri, in central Missouri, and this is not too unusual from experience generally around the country. Vast increases in cases of pertussis, which can be serious. I mean, we're seeing increases in several hundred percentage year over year, or if you look this year compared to just a few years ago. So I have concerns that the general rejection of vaccines because of the mRNA vaccine experience with COVID is going to result in a lot of misery for kids. Probably some deaths for kids, because these diseases are, the diphtheria, pertussis, these things are not without some serious consequences for children. And I just hope that folks will sort of, not throw out the baby with the bathwater, and no pun intended there. Seriously, I don't mean to make a joke of this, but we could be doing that by under vaccinating our children with what are really time-tested, proven, and safe vaccines. So it is, of course, an individual decision. But if we reach that tipping point where we don't have the famous herd immunity, which is a reality, even though Dr. Fauci cited it, we don't want to discard everything he said. It is true. There is sort of that tipping point. If we don't have enough people vaccinated, that then there's going to be widespread outbreaks, which are going to be both individually challenged. Parents will suffer watching their kids be hospitalized, and we hope that's all. And it could just result in some real bad problems. So I hope folks will reassess their thoughts about the standard childhood vaccines. They're important.
I was really shocked a few years ago when I was seeing commercials from the government trying to incentivize parents to get their children immunized from whooping cough. And I'm like, whooping cough? That was a vaccine that I got when I was a kid in the early 70s. I'm like, I thought whooping cough was completely eliminated. And the question I have is the resurgence in some of these childhood diseases that I thought were eliminated because parents are not getting as many vaccines, or is it because people from third world countries who aren't vaccinated from these diseases are coming into our country and spreading them?
It's probably a little more of the former and a little bit of the latter. I mean, that would be my guess. I haven't seen solid data on that, but if you're an unvaccinated individual, you are more susceptible to exposure leading to the disease. And by the way, exposure to a virus doesn't always, you can be infected with a virus and not get the disease. The disease is a clinical syndrome, that we all know about, the whooping cough, and with other viruses, fever and so forth. Okay. So, if you get a big enough dose and you don't have enough immunity, whether it's natural or whether it's acquired through a vaccine, and there is a combination of the two that we use to fight every infection that we fight, or every infectious threat that we fight, you can get the disease. And so I'm sure there's an element of that, and it's going to be a bigger threat the more that, unvaccinated illegal immigrants are proliferating throughout the country and spreading throughout the country. Look, anyone who is unvaccinated and carries a virus or a bacteria or some infectious agent, and if you immigrate legally into this country, there are vaccine requirements. They're vectors. They're vectors for the spread, just like an unvaccinated kid that gets it, or a kid that doesn't have a chickenpox vaccine and gets chickenpox. Well, they can infect other kids, So it's pretty much just a matter of spreading viruses the way viruses spread. And the more people that are not resistant to them become potential recipients and then ultimately vectors of the spread themselves. It's fairly simple in terms of the concepts. And I hope folks keep that in mind, and remembering that, like you said, we all got, we all got the it's called the Tdap, the tetanus, diphtheria, and whooping cough, pertussis vaccine. Those are just probably really good things for parents to think about. You don't want your kid, getting gravely ill when it could have been easily prevented.
And finally, Dr. Tobler, it is Thanksgiving Eve. What will the Tobler family be doing on Thanksgiving? What's a typical Tobler Thanksgiving?
It's pretty traditional, the turkey with the trimmings and all that. So I don't know. I'm just trying. I'm going to try to restrain.
You're going to read a story to the family at dinner time or anything?
Yeah, I try to restrain myself a little bit. I'm trying to be prudent and not have to go on the Ozempic, right?
There you go. Well, we'll be paying for it soon, though. It'll be okay.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't know. And think about the costs associated with that. And it's just going to be unbelievably costly to do that. So I really think that there is a place for these medicines. We do some medical weight loss, but always in the context of very, very disciplined and I think instructive, sustainable lifestyle change. That is ultimately the prescription that will keep people healthy, wise, and under Donald Trump, wealthy as well.
And those are good words to end by Dr. Randy Tobler, host of the Randy Tobler Show here on News Talk STL Saturday mornings from 6 to 9. And he's also the co-host of Wake Up Mid-Missouri weekdays on 93.9 The Eagle in Columbia. Dr. Tobler, thank you for your time and have a happy and wonderful Thanksgiving and weekend.
Let me say thank you to you and Tim. I know he's out, and Joey for all the great times we have. I really enjoy these hits with you guys. Really appreciate you a lot.
We enjoy having you. You're the best. Thank you, sir.
Take care.
And that's Dr. Randy Tobler, and one segment left. And Joey, we're going to talk about Moesha.
I love Moesha.
Is that what it is, Moesha?
Yeah, starring Brandy, right?
Starring Brandy, yeah.
No, I think it's Moana 2.
Moana 2. We'll talk about Moana 2. Was it a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Joy will tell us about it next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
When the pimp's in the crib, ma, drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Cloudy skies now the rule for tonight, but we'll stay dry, low 39 degrees. Then a chance for some rain on Wednesday. May see a few scattered light showers in the morning, but really the best chance for widespread impactful rain is the afternoon to evening hour, especially around the evening rush. It's not real heavy, a quarter inch or less, but it's going to make for wet roads on a travel day as we get towards the holiday. A high of 49, too, so it's a chilly rain Wednesday afternoon and evening. Then Thursday for Thanksgiving, it's a dry day, but a chilly one, a high of around 42 degrees with partly to mostly sunny skies. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The Allman Report.
Hey, Tuesday on the Allman Report, looks like the blowhards and their windmills have finally met their match. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Jamie Allman, weeknights at 8 on News Talk STL.
Is your portfolio prepared for the biggest risks facing investors today? Hi, it's Tim Jones. High inflation and a rapidly changing economy may impact your investments. If you haven't made appropriate changes, your portfolio may not be positioned to address some of the biggest risks in today's economy. That means it's time to request your free portfolio review from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on News Talk STL 101.9. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create a portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free portfolio review, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Honesty, integrity, humility, purpose. We're looking for people that share these values. As an officer in the Springfield, Missouri Police Department, you'll train in a state-of-the-art facility, learn special skills, and most importantly, learn that being humble through it all builds a better community. Our next training academy starts soon. Work hard and dedicate yourself to the craft, and I promise you'll have some amazing opportunities. Visit gospd.com for more information. That's gospd.com. Brought to you by the Springfield, Missouri Police Department.
Ready to soar beyond your limits? The U.S. Air Force and Space Force offer more than just a job. It's a launch pad for your future. With over 200 career paths, competitive pay, benefits, free education, 30 days paid vacation, and a chance to travel the globe, all while serving your country with pride. Your journey starts here. Call Jeremy Jefferson in St. Louis at 314-295-6834 or visit airforce.com and spaceforce.com today.
This is Larry Connors, and my favorite sandwich at Capriati's is a Philly cheesesteak with peppers, sweet peppers, but sometimes hot peppers. I love Capriati's, and so will you.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill. Transform your space with JML Interior Design in Clayton. For 32 years, local woman business owner Jeannie Lashmet has been creating stunning interiors that reflect your vision. From residential to commercial, kitchens to corporate spaces, JML Interior Design brings expertise to every project. Planning a home remodel, tackling new construction, or the expert commercial interior space planning service. Jeannie and her team deliver great designs that work. Call 314-453-4233 or visit jmlinteriors.net. JML Interior Design. We just don't dream it, we do it.
This hour of Jones and Arps brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Is Hulk Hogan headed to the White House? The shirt-ripping wrestling legend says Trump wants him to play a role in his administration.
We started talking about physical fitness, and Donald said, you know something, Hogan? You'd be great to run the President's Council on Physical Fitness because you're 71. You still got that Trump pump on, brother.
Yup, you just might be looking at the next chairman of the President's Council on Fitness, Sports, and Nutrition, an advisory role that has traditionally been filled by celebrities like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Denise Austin.
My thing is, I'm a beach bum, brother. I love staying on the beach, but you never know. It could happen.
5:51 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, and I think that would be the absolute best position for Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan to be in the president's administration as a physical fitness guy. Absolutely perfect. What about you, Joy? You think so? Perfect.
Yeah, the guy in charge of the steroid scandal back in the 80s should definitely run all of the physical fitness.
You just had to go there, didn't you?
I think
you just had to go. They had to put a wet blanket on it.
You know, if we're giving out free Ozempic, steroids should be part of Medicare and Medicaid too.
You know, we can't talk about Disney, of course, without having the man that loves Disney, goes to Disney every year with his family, the great Tony Colombo and Company, early the show before ours. We're going to talk about Moesha.
Nope.
Moana, the Disney.
Getting there, getting closer.
Moana. Joy? Give us your thoughts on it. Tony, Tony, you chime in there.
I can't wait to hear this review.
What's so interesting about movie screenings is when they don't give them to you until the day before, instantly, you know it's going to be bad.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when they have review embargoes where they say you can't even post about this online until the day it comes out, that's 2 strikes right there. And Moana had both of those. So they knew that they were putting out a piece of crap. I mean, it was supposed to be a TV series on Disney Plus, and it was 4 episodes that didn't really go together, squished together into one movie. So I gave it, 1.5 out of 5 stars. It's pretty bad.
Okay, why is it bad? I mean, give us the theatrical things on why it's bad.
Because it's Disney making movies this time. They forgot how to make movies. That's why.
They didn't use any love in the recipe. So obviously the songs are amazing in Moana 1. Didn't bring back the main guy, Lin-Manuel Miranda. So right there. And then it's got a lot of dirty humor into it,
Mm.
like childish humor about farts and nudity.
Right.
And it just seems so out of place based on the first one.
All right.
hate
For
it.
people like me that have no idea what this movie is about, can you give us a little synopsis of what is Moana?
Tony, what's the first one about?
Tony,
I know
what's Moana
it's
about?
like the first one's about a dying island, right?
Yeah, it's about like a Polynesian tribe of people
Mhm.
that are rediscovering their ancestry and saving the world all at the same time. And it's got an A++ soundtrack with Lin-Manuel Miranda,
Okay.
like Joey mentioned, and obviously with star power like The Rock. It's a great movie, but Disney, this is my fear, and it sounds like this is what has happened again. Has they continue to make the
Mhm.
same mistake these days every time they just run these IPs into the ground and ruin them in a cash. They know that everybody is going to go see Moana 2 because Moana 1, it's Disney. Moana was great. And so they know all these people are going to go back and see it. Same thing that happened with Frozen. They're making Toy Story 17 now. They're making the live action Lilo and Stitch
Mhm.
that I'm hoping is not one of these failures again. But yeah, they don't have a very good record of, especially lately over the last, I don't know, Joey, 5 or 10 years of like taking one of these classic movies, even like a newer classic like Moana and Frozen, and making a sequel or the trilogy or whatever it is. And they're being good movies. They're just
Disney
not.
has really gone the track of, we need to make money for the stockholders, so let's make a live action movie. And they're filming the live action Moana right now with Rock in some roided out suit on top of it. And so
as they released Moana 2.
And when Moana 1 came out in 2016, that was actually in that gap of like, why are they making such crap? It's all live action remakes. And then Moana came out like, oh, finally an original story.
It was the first like Disney like hit. Like it felt like a classic Disney movie. It was the first one in a long time. And
Well, here's what I keep hearing. I'm not into Star Wars. I watch them because my wife loves them. I get entertained a little bit. But I've been hearing from a lot of people that Disney has destroyed the Star Wars franchise.
Absolutely killed it dead. A franchise that should have been invincible. A franchise that had so much, probably the biggest IP in the world, that had the most loyal, passionate fan base ever. And it's almost impossible. Chris and I have been talking about the Cowboys just today. Chris and I are both Dallas Cowboys fans. Remember when Barry Switzer took over from Jimmy Johnson and won the Super Bowl? It's because that team was so good. Anybody, just let him go out there and play. Anybody could have coached him to a Super Bowl championship that year because they were that good.
Yeah.
That's what Star Wars should have been. So good that it cannot be, you can't do anything to
So
mess it up.
what are they doing?
Well,
because to me, when I watched them, I'm like, yeah, it was entertaining, just like the last 7 or 8 of them. What is it about they doing?
The political messaging, the identity politics, and then on top of it, just bad storytelling. I mean, also just like ruining old characters, changing the way, changing the history of the character, like Luke Skywalker in the Disney movies is nothing like it's like, who is this person? So bad storytelling on top of
why did this is what I want to know. How come the Jar Jar Binks character wasn't never brought back? That was like in one movie.
He's in the cartoons as a really cool guy, but not in the movies.
He was in more than one movie too. He was in all 3 of those.
I just wonder, were they trying to do an agenda there and people were kind of like, nah, I don't think so. Not in Star Wars, and they got rid of it.
Those movies with Jar Jar Binks look like freaking Gone with the Wind compared to the Disney Star Wars movies.
That bad, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
That's Tony. It's convoluted. That's the biggest problem. It's just a convoluted story.
And what are you stars? What do you get?
1.5 out of 5.
Wow, that's pretty bad. Larry Connor's USA is up next. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be Shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
Psst. Want to hear the best kept secret in St. Louis? Steph's Pizza. We're not afraid.